Hello, this is Matt on the Moon Lambo channel. We're now close enough to the end of this market cycle that it definitely makes sense to be having some discussions about when it makes sense to take profit for XRP. Now look, I understand that everybody listening is going to have different ideas about how high XRP is likely to go, and I also understand everybody's in a different financial circumstance, so in terms of where you're interested in taking profit, that's going to vary a lot, but it's still fun to have a conversation and hear what people think, and even if it differs from what you're going to implement in your life, it's perfectly fine. It's an interesting topic of conversation, and it should at a minimum get you thinking, because if you don't have some sort of exit strategy in mind right now, you really need to start moving on some sort of, at a minimum, mental planning and what you're going to do, because when there's exuberance in the market and if you have life-changing wealth at hand, it could be a bit harder to think clearly. So at least have some, at a minimum, some of the basics figured out. Come to a plan about when you are going to sell your XRP if you're going to do that, because I'm telling you right now, we're all human, and when we're in the moment, and you're looking at what your net worth is because of that XRP, and you're seeing the market rallying, you are going to be terrified to sell because it's going to go higher. Now, I got to tell you at the outset, and we'll talk more about this in this video, that is something that's going to happen, and playing that game with yourself is a huge mistake. You cannot sell the top. You will not sell the top. So don't even try. Don't be, it does not make logical sense. Just let the logic beat your emotion, because you're going to have emotions. The logic is you cannot sell the top, and it doesn't make sense to be mad at yourself when you sell and the price inevitably goes higher to some degree. Even if it doubles or triples, whatever, because you are doing a smart thing, actually, since you can't see into the future. You're taking risk off the table. So if that's the right choice for you, do not then beat yourself up, but also don't be paralyzed, fearful of selling because it might go higher. If it's life-changing, it's life-changing, it's life-changing. Just convince yourself of that before you're in the moment where the emotions could get the best of you, okay? And I'm going to have to fight this myself, honestly, because like I have no trouble emotionally not panic selling. I am so used to this. Price went when price the price of XRP in 2020 cratered to 15 cents. It actually technically got as low as 10 cents. But when it was at 15 cents, I was able to snag it as low as that. That's the lowest I ever bought XRP. And my net worth was down a lot because XRP was cratering and it was below my average buying price. And I was excited. Okay, I have no trouble with that. But since I haven't cashed out to United States dollars, I believe that since I'm a human, I'm going to feel whatever emotions people feel when they're, very seriously considering selling. Now, I do believe with the way I'm wired by nature, I don't think I'm going to have trouble overriding the emotion. I'm assuming I'm going to feel something, but I'm not actually a robot. I just play one on YouTube. Beep, boop, beep. But I'm sure I'll feel something. But I firmly believe I'm going to make myself do that. I'm a logic, data, reason type of guy. And emotions are stupid, so I try to just not have them when it comes to investing. And, so throw those out and then just stick to the plan. That's pretty much it here. And we really are at this moment where it could just go any day. It really could. I'm increasingly seeing this from analysts about the market on the whole. And I even talked about this a bit in my last video. Lots of XRP chart analysts believe we're going to see XRP pop off much sooner than later. And if you want the specifics, I highlighted, I don't know, like maybe it was like 8 different XRP chart analysts. I don't know, it was something like lots of chart analysts who think that by a lot, it's more probable that, you're going to see XRP popping off. It could be June, could be July, like basically in the coming weeks. So I don't know for sure if that's going to happen. Nobody can know for sure, but I do firmly believe that it's possible that could happen, which is why you got to have something in place. And that's why I'm talking about this right now. Take a look at this post from chart analyst Stock Money Lizards. This is Bitcoin here, of course, and he says, clean. Be prepared for strong leg up. Shorts are being liquidated, and we will soon see a green candle when the squeeze happens. And so he firmly believes in the short term we're finally going to see that, and you know what that means. Bitcoin setting off on its final parabolic rally this cycle. You know that money's going to flow. It's going to rotate right into alts, including XRP, full-blown alt season then. Historically, this is the norm. That is what's next. It's just a question of when it's happening. But again, like I keep saying, tons of analysts are saying, pick a metric. It looks a lot like last cycle at the point right before it went. I keep seeing that. Here's a post from chart analyst Crypto Michael, January 12th of 2023. That's right, 2.5 years ago, just about. He says, Bitcoin has bottomed here at $15,400. There's a time capsule of a tweet. Look at that right there. And you know what the popular sentiment was? No, it's not. It's going to keep going lower. It's going to go to $12,000 and maybe $10,000. Remember that? If you were around back then, I'm sure you remember that if you're in social media. So many people screaming that, like Capo, Il Capo of crypto, who disastrously got that wrong and then refused to admit that he was wrong and then just dug a hole and alienated a bunch of people. That guy. So anyway, he was right here. It was the bottom. And by the way, he also accurately called XRP blasting off this cycle. He's one of the many analysts I follow that accurately got that too. And none of the analysts that I follow think that the cycle is over, just to be clear. And they all accurately saw that the bottom was in for Bitcoin. And the XRP analysts that I follow, they all saw what was going to happen there too. So I firmly believe it's worth listening to these folks, right? Pretty good track records. Nobody's perfect. Pretty good records though. And so anyway, he reposted this on Monday evening, and he said, the Bitcoin rally I predicted from $15,000 to $112,000 was just the test pump. The next phase of the greatest bull market in history should begin this week. The entire crypto market will go parabolic. Strap in. Okay. Well, that's bold to say it's going to begin this week. Okay, so what are we talking about then? Another new all-time high for Bitcoin? And then it's starting to blast? Okay. See, I don't know if he's right, and I always get nervous for any analyst, even if they're really good and have a great track record, when they start to predict short-term price action. But that being said, I acknowledge that there's historic precedent to believe that structurally this would be the moment in time, roughly speaking, where it would make sense to go if history is going to rhyme with itself. So I recognize both of those things. That's all I'm saying here. But he thinks, again, and I'm sharing some examples here, like, it's going to go, folks, okay? I keep seeing this. Here's a post from chart analyst Jackus, and you can see on the left, these are both Bitcoin charts. On the left, it's late 2023 into early 2024. And then on the right, this is where we are right now. And what he's highlighting effectively, I'm about to read what he wrote here, but he's effectively highlighting that what we saw here structurally, you can just plop it down right here where we are now, and you can see it looks pretty damn similar. And so you can see where he drew these little green highlights over key parts. And so this is what he's referencing right here. It's like Bitcoin's doing the same thing. And if that's the case, if it keeps following, we are right now, right before where Bitcoin took off. If you look at this fractal here, from 2023 and into 2024, if it keeps playing out, he's like, yeah, this is it. So anyway, he wrote, I think if Bitcoin can sustain these levels going into tomorrow, and oh, by the way, he posted this Monday evening, so it's not Tuesday. He says, I think if Bitcoin can sustain these levels going into tomorrow and then the rest of the week, then likely this fractal is not only fully confirmed, but starts playing out to a full extent too, and should start dragging alts back up from this correction to new highs as well. Some are still trading at deep discounts, but good ones likely to pick up quickly. And so another analyst here thinking, guys, there's a really good chance this is actually the moment where this thing's about to blast off. And yeah, he's talking about Bitcoin here, but alts follow. He recognizes that as well, obviously, including in this post. Here's a post from chart analyst Mustache. This is the crypto total market cap. And he says, friendly reminder, total market cap continues to stick very close to the 2020/2021 roadmap. You'll see significantly higher levels in the coming weeks and months, in my opinion. Altcoins and Ethereum will outperform Bitcoin. So yet another analyst who has got a pretty damn good hit rate here, saying, yeah, this is the moment, again, roughly speaking, this time period. And so he's a little bit more loose with that, but I respect that completely. That makes sense. He's just saying, based on historic precedent, it could be any day now, effectively. It could be within the next few weeks, months, whatever. We're about here. This is pretty much it. And you can see he's comparing what's happening right now to what happened last cycle. Looks pretty damn similar, doesn't it? The answer is yes. Everyone nod your head yes. Here's a post from chart analyst Malleus. He says, when Ethereum clears major higher time frame resistance above, I go in full bull mode also on the lower time frame. On higher time frame, we are bullish since the bottom. If this happens soon, then forget about the choppy summer. So look, here's another analyst who is recognizing we actually might not have a chop summer, meaning just moving sideways with lame volatility. He thinks that there's a real good possibility we are going to blast to the upside. And I'll repeat, I've been sharing this in a lot of videos. I'll just be brief here, but I want to mention it again. You know, I understand most summers are lame and you just move sideways. In the 4th year of each cycle, going back the last few cycles, that summer, that 4th one, not lame. And that's the one that we're in right now. So if you go to 2021, Bitcoin rocketed. You go to 2017, Bitcoin rocketed, and so did altcoins. So now here we are in 2025, the 4th year of the cycle. If history rhymes with itself, yes, we're not going to have a lame summer, even though most summers are lame. That is true. If you're in the mindset and you've been taught that, you are correct, except for in the 4th year of bull cycles. And that's just historic precedent. So that doesn't guarantee that we're going to have fireworks this summer. But again, history tends to rhyme with itself. It's worth being aware of this so you can recognize that this is something that's plausible. This really reasonably could occur. In fact, if it didn't, this time would be different if it doesn't go. And those are saying this time is different, like usually famous last words. Here's a post from Steph is Crypto, XRP. Says, the final wave for XRP starts now. And so, again, whether it's today, tomorrow, next week, whatever it ends up being, we'll see here. But look where he drew this line. He's expecting XRP to get up into the $12 range June / maybe July. I don't know if it's going to happen in that time frame. It ain't crazy, though. I know that's not crazy. And it won't take that much money flowing in to get XRP up to that price level. I know that. Here's a post from chart analyst Zoom. I actually shared this yesterday, so I won't reread the whole thing, but it's on topic, so I wanted to just mention this again. He was talking about a selling strategy. You can read the whole thing if you want. But he noted that he's going to sell most of his XRP at $7 to $8 once we're presented with those prices. But he actually thinks that XRP is going to peak between $8 to $13. And so then the question is, then why aren't you selling at $10 to $13? And his answer is the last sentence in this post. Because timing the top is a fool's game. So my friends, people who have experience in crypto know this. At least they should. If they don't, maybe they're not that sharp and they haven't learned it yet. I don't know. But it's well understood by anybody that's been here for more than 5 seconds. If you've been through more than one cycle, you will not time the top. And so I get that it's going to be stressful because it's going to be highly consequential. If you've got life-changing wealth in XRP when we get closer to whatever you think a reasonable exit price is, I understand. You're going to be like, okay, but even if it just goes up a little bit, it could be, say it's, X number of hundreds, thousands more. Maybe it's 500,000 more for you if you've got enough XRP. I get it. I understand. Those are the types of real world things that people are going to be going through. And I understand it. It may eat at some of you if you do sell. And then you're like, oh man, if I had waited, I could have had another 500,000. But stop being stupid. That's a stupid thing to do to yourself. I'm just going to be blunt with you because I love you. Don't stop being stupid. Okay. You cannot time the top. Being mad at yourself for that is just as stupid as being mad at yourself because you did not correctly pick last week's winning lottery numbers. Because you couldn't see into the future. That's why you didn't do it, or you would have picked the winning lottery numbers, right? Okay, so use logic here. You cannot sell the top, which means that you may leave 6 or 7 figures on the table if you've got enough XRP. That's going to happen to a lot of you probably listening. I'm willing to bet. I'm willing to bet that's the case. And it's okay. If it's life-changing, it's life-changing, it's life-changing. Logic dictates that's what you need to focus on. That's what actually matters. But if you start getting into this mindset when everything's on the line and you think, oh, but it's going to go higher. You could be one of those people that misses the top and it craters back down and you're screwed. And I've seen too many of these stories from people in the XRP community of this happening. Last cycle and the cycle before that, because there was one guy, and mind you, we didn't hit a new all-time high last cycle, but there's one guy, even with getting up to $2, he took a screen grab and his XRP was worth like 800,000. He had tremendous regret for not selling any of it. There's another guy in 2017 in the XRP community, and he had something like $650,000 at his peak anyway. So there's just a couple real world examples that I'll never forget. They just stood out to me. And this particular guy, and he shared this publicly because he wanted to help people and to understand, don't fall in this trap. And he's like, yeah, I was only able to sell $100,000 worth, but at its peak it was $650,000, and then it cratered back down, and he missed everything else. Missed it for the cycle. So these are real things that really do happen in crypto. And I'm just telling you, we are reaching the point where this is going to be real life for people. We're reaching that point. So just be smart about this. Do not beat yourself up, okay? If you sell and it goes higher, that's like That's just like that's normal. You should expect that you should sell knowing that's going to happen, in fact. That's how far I'll take this. You should sell knowing that it's not the top and it's going to go higher. You just don't know to what degree. It could be a little bit higher, or it could be way higher. Could be double, triple, quadruple, who knows? And I'm expecting that too. Like I'm going to sell it. I've talked about where I'm going to sell. I plan to sell most of my XRP between $5 to $8 because I bought a metric fuck ton of XRP over a span of years, taking on way more risk than most humans would ever be willing to. And XRP is way less certain at the time, but I did that because I had that level of conviction. I did it, but I bought that much so that when it did get higher, I could comfortably sell at lower levels, take that risk off the table, get the life-changing wealth at lower levels so that I don't need to sell at $10. I don't need to sell at $15 or $20, right? That's why I did that. So I took on more risk up front so that I could de-risk, and I fully expect that I'm going to sell and it's going to go way higher. And if I sell, pretty much all of my XRP upwards of $8, although I may set aside like 10%, depending on things. But even if I sell just about all of it, all the way up to $8, and then it goes to like 20 or $30, okay, like that's life. It'll already be life-changing for me, so like it's fine. Okay, and I'm going to be cheering on everybody else that sells at higher prices than me because we're a community, and I want to see you guys succeed. That's fine. And I will have already succeeded dollar-wise. It'll already be insane for me. But you have to start looking at it like that, or you're going to wreck yourself. That's why I'm making this video here. Just beware of this stuff. Here's a post from Bobby A on this topic. This is the market cap XRP chart, actually. But he wrote, we will systematically, methodically, and unemotionally distribute within our target range when appropriate. We have our formula, and it's strategy plus patience. Okay, Bobby gets it. This is another guy who accurately called XRP blasting off this cycle. And his take profit zone, he's citing it as $8 to $10. And he does believe like there's a very good chance it goes higher than that. He's just citing what he thinks is a good take profit zone. All right. Now, if you have the conviction it's going way higher and that's the only place where you think it makes sense for you to sell, then follow your plan. I'm not telling you what to do. I do not know what makes sense for you. I'm just talking about the general pitfalls that I know people fall in. And I know that we're all going to be faced with this if we've got just substantially increased net worth as a result of crypto on paper, unrealized profit. And I'm going to be in this too. Like I'm going to have to make myself do this. And maybe it will be more challenging than I think, but I'm just optimistic. Like the way I'm wired, I'm a very by the books type of guy. I'm very strict with myself. I just let logic, data, and reason override the emotion, even if I feel the emotion, and that's that. That's the type of guy I am. I'm actually really good at that, thankfully. But it doesn't mean I won't emotionally feel something, and I'll talk about that at the time. I just haven't been there yet. So in that sense, it's a little bit of a question mark for me, but I have a high level of confidence I'll be fine. But I know that this is going to be the hard part. You'd think that, if you're new to crypto, you might think that selling is the easy part. No, selling is not the easy part. No. That is not the easy part. It's all the hard part. Pretty much all of it is the hard part, okay? Because when it's low, you're freaking out. Oh my God, is it going to go lower? Should I panic sell here? And then on the upside, you're just like, oh my God, should I sell? But it could go way higher. See, all the parts are the hard part, okay? That's the truth of it here. So just have a plan in place. And I've had a general idea of what I'm going to do going back almost an entire decade at this point, ever since I jumped into crypto. And the only reason I haven't 100% ironed it out is because there's too many moving variables in this. And so depending on certain other things that happen in terms of taking profit in the world of crypto, that will impact the degree to which I'm willing to take on risk, which is why I might set aside, for instance, 10% of my total XRP to write it higher. Maybe I will, to see if it goes to 10, $15, and maybe I'll sell that little bit up there if given the opportunity. But it's dependent on other things. So we'll see. There's just too many moving parts to know for sure. But I have a pretty damn good idea in a general sense, like what I'm going to do. Here's a post from chart analyst E. Greg Crypto, XRP USD chart on the screen here. He says, by now you should understand what I mean about targeting double digits. But please, I urge you, don't wait for just one target to sell. Always take profits rationally and set clear, specific targets. I can't stress enough. Don't rely on one target. Have a plan to exit. And remember, I'm not responsible for your decisions. Yes, well, okay, we know you're not responsible, Greg. But he's right. He's absolutely correct there. What makes the most sense is to sell at various price points. So just like as you're accumulating your position, you dollar cost average in, so you get broad exposure at various price points, and that's what I did. You know, I bought as XRP was falling in the summer of 2018. I remember it got down to 55 cents, and I was like, okay, this is low enough where I don't know where the bottom is, but I'm going to start buying now. So I bought at 55 cents. It kept dropping down to 50 cents, 45 cents, 40 cents. I just kept buying. You know, again, like I said, the lowest I ever ended up buying was in March of 2020 at 15 cents. My average buying price for XRP, my average cost for XRP is about 25 cents. And so that's just what I did. I got it at various price points. And for a long time, a lot of the XRP, I was actually underwater on it. And okay, that's fine. But I got broad exposure. And now all of those price points seem pretty attractive, even 55 cents. So think about it. I bought it at 55 cents. It dropped down to 10 cents. Well, that made it, you could be like, well, that's a stupid buy, Moon Lambo. 55 cents, you lost almost all the value. It dropped to 10 cents. Except for then it hit a new all-time high this year at $3.40, didn't it? You just got to be patient here. But anyway, so like I got exposure from all those points. So just like I did that, when I'm selling, I'm going to sell at various price points on the way up. Now, it's going to be more rushed, though, because, yeah, you can have years to accumulate, but these bull runs are fleeting. Like in December 2017, when XRP went on its final run that cycle, it took about 2.5 weeks. So just keep it in mind. Like you're going to be more rushed. So for me, I'm probably going to be selling pretty much every day when this thing starts getting in that range. And I'll talk about what I'm doing and when, and I'm sure I'll be happy sharing what percentages I'm selling. I don't want to talk about, you know, how much XRP I have or anything. I'm not comfortable with that. But as far as like percentage of my holdings that I'm selling, I can talk about that. Anyway, and then Greg also says, do you see what I see? The measured move suggests $20, but I believe the next bullish phase could be harsh and might drop like the 2021 bear market around 86%. That could bring XRP down to roughly $3 if we hit $27. So folks, he is right, and think about that. I don't know if we're going to get to 27 bucks. I'm not making a prediction. That could happen, maybe it will. But say we do, and then you drop 86%, and you're down back to $3. That's the concern. So you can be sitting there thinking, I don't want to sell. No, I mean, I want it, but it could go higher. Oh my God. And then you get paralyzed. And then what if you don't sell? And then it quickly drops down 86%, and then it's just $3 and you missed it. So you can't know. I can't know. You can't know. None of us will know in advance. You just have to do something. You got to do something. So have something in general in place in your mind, or you're going to be much more likely to screw this up at a crucial moment. And I don't want that to happen to anybody in our community here. So whatever you think is right for you, that's fine. Okay? Some of you want to sell lower than me. Some of you want to sell higher than me. It doesn't matter. Don't do the Moon Lambo plan because I'm in my own position. I have different desires, expectations. I have a specific quantity of XRP, and I'm taking this in the context of the rest of my general net worth and my individual goals, which are different than yours. So I can't know what's best for you. So I'm not telling you that my plan for me is the right for anyone else. I don't believe that. But you have to decide what is best for you. And again, just be aware of these pitfalls so you don't screw yourself, okay? There's so much opportunity here. And it's at hand. We really are that close. Like, we're almost in the take profit zone. I'm willing to bet we're going to have this next leg up sooner than later. Whether it's today, tomorrow, next week, next month, the next quarter, whatever it ends up being, we're in that zone where it is going to come at any moment. It just could. It's an exciting time to be an XRP holder. But we are really finally actually getting to the end of this journey. And then we can start a new one. I'm not a financial advisor. You should not buy or sell anything because of anything I say are right. That would be a very, very, very bad idea. Until next time, to the Moon Lambo.